Today, we're bringing the 25 most haunting alien sightings back to life. Number 25. Roswell Incident. In the summer of 1947, something strange crashed on a ranch near Roswell, New Mexico. The rancher, Mac Brazel, found debris scattered across the field, thin metallic strips and odd materials that didn't behave like anything he'd seen. He reported it to the local sheriff, who then contacted the nearby military base. Within hours, the military arrived, cleaned up the site, and announced they had recovered a flying disc. The story made headlines across the country. But the very next day, the military changed its tune, saying it was just a weather balloon. This sudden switch raised eyebrows and sparked decades of speculation. Witnesses claimed to have seen more than just debris. Some even spoke of small bodies and secret transport operations. While officials insisted there was nothing more to the story, people in Roswell believed something had been covered up. Over the years, Roswell became the centerpiece of UFO lore in America. Books, documentaries, and testimonies kept the story alive. Former military personnel spoke out, claiming they had seen evidence of a craft not made on Earth. The government responded with further explanations, like Project Mogul, a secret balloon project. But these efforts only fueled more suspicion among believers. Today, Roswell is more than a mystery. It's a legend. Tourists flock to the town, visiting museums and buying souvenirs shaped like aliens. Though no official proof has ever been released, the Roswell incident remains one of the most famous and haunting alien story in U.S. history. Number 24. Gulf Breeze UFO. In 1987, the quiet coastal town of Gulf Breeze, Florida, was rocked by a series of unusual sightings. A local contractor named Ed Walters claimed he began seeing flying saucers hovering near his home. Not only did he see them, he photographed them. The images he shared showed disc-shaped crafts with glowing lights floating in the sky. At the time, they stunned the public and were featured in newspapers nationwide. What made the Gulf Breeze sightings different was the sheer number of people who backed up Ed's story. Neighbors, friends, and even passers-by reported seeing strange lights over the water and strange objects silently flying overhead. These weren't just quick flashes in the night. Some witnesses said the crafts hovered, moved with impossible speed, and even shot down beams of light. As the media frenzy grew, skeptics pointed fingers. Some claimed Ed had staged the photos using models, and later a fake flying saucer was allegedly found in his attic, but supporters argued that too many people had seen the same thing at different times for it all to be fake. The town was split, and the mystery only deepened with every report. To this day, the Gulf Breeze UFO case remains one of the most debated in the country. Whether a brilliant hoax or a genuine encounter, it caught the world's attention and left behind a trail of questions. The town has never forgotten those nights of flashing lights and hovering shadows, and many still believe something very real passed through the skies of Gulf Breeze. Number 23. Kenneth Arnold sighting. In June 1947, pilot Kenneth Arnold was flying his small plane near Mount Rainier, Washington, when he spotted something in the sky that would change the world forever. He reported seeing 9 strange, shiny objects darting through the air in formation, moving faster than anything he had ever witnessed. Arnold described their motion as like saucers skipping across water, a phrase that would unknowingly give birth to the term flying saucer. Arnold's sighting was not just a casual observation. It sparked national interest and widespread media coverage. Reporters rushed to cover his account, and soon newspapers across the country were printing his story. What made Arnold's claim so compelling was his credibility. He was a respected businessman, an experienced pilot, and he had no reason to lie. His detailed description, including their speed, shape, and movement, fascinated both the public and military observers. In the days that followed, dozens of similar sightings poured in from across the region. The government initially downplayed the event, suggesting Arnold had simply seen a mirage or misunderstood birds or experimental planes. But many found that hard to believe, especially given how confident and specific Arnold had been. His report became one of the first widely publicized UFO sightings in American history. To this day, the Kenneth Arnold sighting remains one of the most influential events in UFO lore. It marked the beginning of modern American fascination with unidentified flying objects and triggered a wave of reports, investigations, and conspiracy theories that continue to this day. Number 22, Lake Michigan Lights. On a quiet night in March 1994, something bizarre appeared over Lake Michigan. Dozens of people across 5 counties reported seeing strange lights in the sky. White, red, blue, and green orbs that hovered, danced, and vanished without a sound. What made the sighting unique was that it wasn't just locals who saw it. 911 operators, police officers, and even weather radar confirmed something was out there. In Holland, Michigan, a Weather Service radar operator tracked strange objects moving across the lake. The blips would appear and disappear in ways no aircraft could. At the same time, families in nearby towns stepped out of their homes, pointing at the glowing orbs that moved like nothing they had seen before. The objects split apart, hovered, and zipped away in different directions. Calls poured into 911. Some described a single orb circling silently overhead. Others swore they saw multiple lights playing chase across the sky. Law enforcement couldn't explain it, but many officers confirmed they saw it too. With radar backing the sightings, this case became one of the strongest mass UFO encounters in American history. Despite the attention, no official explanation ever came. The military stayed quiet, and nothing unusual was ever recovered. But for those who saw the lights, the night remains unforgettable. The 1994 Lake Michigan event stands out as a rare case where so many eyes, and even radar, confirmed the mystery. Number 21, Kadat Pass. In the wilds of Montana during 1865, long before modern UFO sightings captured headlines, something strange unfolded in Kadat Pass. A trapper named James Lumley claimed to have witnessed a bright light streaking across the sky, followed by a powerful explosion in the distant mountains. Curious, he hiked to the source and discovered something baffling. A massive crater surrounded by pieces of metal unlike anything he had ever seen, and symbols etched into the debris that looked like writing, but not in any language he recognized. What Lumley described sounded eerily similar to a crashed spacecraft. He claimed he found fragments that appeared metallic, but shattered like glass, and the surrounding trees were scorched, as if from intense heat. The event was later reported in newspapers, sparking early speculation that something beyond our world might have landed or crashed on American soil long before Roswell. Skeptics in the 19th century dismissed the tale as imagination or exaggeration, but others found it too detailed to ignore. The area remained remote and largely unexplored, which added to the mystery. Could something otherworldly have fallen in the Montana wilderness decades before UFOs were even part of public conversation? Though often forgotten today, Lumley's account has been revisited by UFO researchers who consider it one of the earliest recorded alien-related events in the U.S. Whether a myth or a glimpse of the unknown, the Kadat Pass incident still haunts the rugged peaks of Montana's past. Number 20. Mystery airships. In the late 19th century, newspapers across the country began reporting mysterious sightings of strange airships drifting silently through the skies. From California to Kansas, witnesses described cigar-shaped crafts with bright lights, moving in ways no known technology could. Some accounts even included crew members who spoke strange languages or claimed to be from other planets. Skeptics blamed hoaxes or misidentified balloons, but others were convinced the sightings were something otherworldly. These reports stirred imaginations and fear, long before modern UFOs made headlines. One of the most famous encounters happened in April 1897 in Aurora, Texas. Locals claimed an airship crashed into a windmill, scattering debris and revealing a small humanoid body. The town even buried the alleged alien in the cemetery, where a gravestone marked the spot until it mysteriously vanished. The story captured national attention and remains a cornerstone of early UFO folklore. What made these sightings especially strange was their consistency. Hundreds of people from different states described similar crafts, even though communication between towns was slow and limited. Reports mentioned hissing noises, metal clanks, and lights brighter than any lantern. Some airships reportedly hovered for hours, while others zipped away at impossible speeds. Whether it was mass hysteria, secret inventions, or something truly unexplained, the mystery airship wave remains one of the first major UFO flaps in American history. To this day, no one can fully explain what those witnesses saw in the skies over America in 1896 and 1897. Number 19. Phoenix Lights. On March 13, 1997, thousands of people across Arizona and parts of Nevada looked up and saw something they couldn't explain. Massive, silent lights moving slowly across the sky. From 7:30 to 10:30 p.m., witnesses reported a V-shaped formation of glowing orbs stretching across the horizon and hovering above neighborhoods and cities. Some said the craft was larger than a football field, while others claimed it blocked out stars as it passed silently overhead. One of the most striking parts of the Phoenix Lights was the sheer number of reliable witnesses. Police officers, pilots, doctors, and even Arizona's governor at the time, Fife Symington, later admitted he saw the lights too. Initially, he downplayed the event with a joke at a press conference, but years later, he described the lights as otherworldly and said they weren't like anything he had ever seen. The Air Force later claimed the lights were flares dropped during a military training exercise, but many residents disagreed. They argued the lights held a solid formation and moved with purpose, unlike flares that drift and fall. Video footage taken by residents seemed to show something far more mysterious than a simple military explanation. The Phoenix Lights remain one of the most credible and widely reported UFO events in U.S. history. Even decades later, it continues to spark debate and investigation, standing as a chilling reminder that sometimes the sky holds secrets we still can't explain. Number 18. Lonnie Zamora. On April 24, 1964, police officer Lonnie Zamora was patrolling the quiet desert roads of Socorro, New Mexico, when a loud roar and a flash of flame in the sky caught his attention. Thinking a nearby dynamite shack had exploded, he drove toward the source. But what he found was far stranger. A shiny, egg-shaped object resting on 4 legs in a dry arroyo just outside town. As he got closer, he spotted 2 small, child-sized figures dressed in white. The moment they noticed him, they hurried back into the craft. Within seconds, the object lifted off with a blast of fire and a high-pitched sound. It rose silently into the air and disappeared over a nearby hill, leaving Zamora stunned. He immediately radioed for help. Soon, other officers and federal investigators arrived. What they found was hard to ignore: burn marks on the ground, impressions left by landing gear, and scorched vegetation. Something physical had definitely been there. Zamora was no attention seeker. A well-respected officer known for his calm and honesty, he never changed his story and never tried to profit from the experience. His detailed report impressed even skeptical investigators. The Air Force's Project Blue Book studied the incident and ultimately labeled it unexplained. Despite pressure to find a mundane answer, no aircraft or balloon, known at the time, fit what Zamora saw. Today, the Lonnie Zamora sighting is still considered one of the most credible UFO cases in American history. The physical evidence, multiple witnesses, and Zamora's strong character make it a lasting mystery, one that continues to puzzle experts and inspire new investigations more than half a century later. Number 17. Lubbock Lights. In late August 1951, the skies over Lubbock, Texas, lit up with a strange and unforgettable display. On the evening of August 25th, several respected Texas Tech professors were relaxing in a backyard when they saw something astonishing: dozens of bright blue-green lights flying swiftly in a V formation across the sky. Stunned, they knew these weren't birds or regular aircraft. Their calm and reliable reputations made the sighting even more difficult to dismiss. Over the next few nights, hundreds of residents in Lubbock reported seeing the same glowing lights moving silently through the sky. One college student managed to photograph the lights on September 1st, capturing several bright objects arranged in curved formations. The images were published in newspapers across the country and added fuel to the mystery. The photos became some of the most iconic UFO images of the 20th century. The U.S. Air Force quickly took interest, launching an investigation through Project Blue Book. Officials visited witnesses, examined the photographs, and tried to explain the lights as natural or man-made objects. The leading theory suggested they might have been plover birds reflecting city lights, but this didn't sit well with many of the professors, who were trained observers, and dismissed that explanation outright. Despite years of speculation, the Lubbock lights have never been fully explained. No sound, no radar detection, and no confirmed aircraft fit the reports. What makes this case stand out is the credibility of the witnesses, the consistency of the sightings, and the photographic evidence. To this day, the mystery still glows in the skies of UFO lore. Number 16. Aurora, Texas crash. Long before Roswell, an outlandish story rocked the small town of Aurora, Texas. On April 17, 1897, during a wave of mystery airship sightings across the country, a strange, cigar-shaped craft reportedly crashed into a windmill on a local farm belonging to Judge J.S. Proctor. The explosion scattered metal debris across the property and destroyed the windmill completely. As townspeople rushed to the scene, they claimed to find the body of the pilot, small, humanoid, and unlike anything they had ever seen. Though described as not of this world, the locals reportedly gave the being a respectful burial in the town cemetery. According to early newspaper accounts, the grave was marked with a simple headstone bearing a crude drawing of the craft. The incident was published in the Dallas Morning News the next day and has been a source of debate ever since. Some believe it was a hoax, possibly created to draw attention to the dying town. Others think it might have been based on a real event, but exaggerated over time. Over the years, researchers and UFO investigators have tried to locate the grave, but the marker disappeared, and the site remains uncertain. Even without physical evidence, the Aurora crash has become one of the most enduring legends in American UFO history. The idea that an alien craft may have crashed decades before Roswell, and that its pilot was laid to rest in a Texas cemetery, continues to fascinate believers and skeptics alike. Number 15. Pascigula Abduction. On the night of October 11, 1973, two shipyard workers, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker, were fishing along the Pascigula River in Mississippi when their quiet evening turned into something unimaginable. According to their account, a glowing, oval-shaped object descended silently and hovered nearby. Before they could react, three strange beings floated toward them, gray-skinned, with long arms and featureless faces, and the two men were taken aboard. Inside the craft, they described being examined by an unknown force, feeling paralyzed but fully aware. Minutes later, they were returned to the riverbank, shaken and terrified. They rushed to the sheriff's office and gave a detailed report. Unknown to them, the sheriff secretly recorded their conversation when they were left alone, and the tape revealed consistent, frightened talk between the men, lending credibility to their story. The case quickly made national news. While Calvin Parker avoided the spotlight for years, Hickson appeared in interviews and passed multiple lie detector tests. Decades later, Parker also shared more details, standing by his experience until his passing. The story was studied by several UFO researchers, and even skeptics admitted it was difficult to explain away. The Pascigula Abduction remains one of the most documented and unnerving alien encounter stories in the U.S. The quiet setting, the physical and emotional reactions of the witnesses, and the recorded evidence continue to make this case stand out as one of the most mysterious ever reported. Number 14. Battle of Los Angeles. In the early hours of February 25, 1942, just weeks after Pearl Harbor, the skies over Los Angeles erupted in chaos. Around 2 a.m., military radar detected an unidentified object approaching the California coast. Fearing an enemy attack, sirens wailed, a blackout was ordered, and anti-aircraft batteries across the city were placed on high alert. Moments later, spotlights swept the night sky and locked onto something strange, something no one could clearly explain. Over 1,400 shells were fired into the air in a thunderous display of power. Residents reported seeing a large, glowing object moving silently above the city. Some described it as disc-shaped, while others swore it was cigar-like. The object appeared unaffected by the barrage, floating slowly before disappearing into the darkness. Newspaper photos showed searchlights converging on a mysterious shape high above Los Angeles, adding fuel to the mystery. The military later claimed it had been a false alarm, triggered by war nerves and possibly a weather balloon. But the scale of the response, the number of witnesses, and the strange behavior of the object left many unconvinced. The idea that something unknown had entered U.S. airspace took hold and has never fully let go. To this day, the Battle of Los Angeles remains one of the most baffling mass UFO sightings in American history. With no wreckage, no damage, and no clear answers, the event continues to raise questions about what really happened in the skies that night. Number 13, Mory Island Incident. In June 1947, just days before the famous Kenneth Arnold sighting, a man named Harold Dahl claimed to have encountered something strange near Mory Island, in Washington's Puget Sound. While on a boat with his son and dog, Dahl said 6 large, donut-shaped flying objects hovered overhead. One of them appeared to malfunction and dropped hot metallic debris onto the boat, killing his dog and burning his son's arm. Dahl took photographs and collected samples of the strange material. The next day, Dahl claimed a mysterious man in a dark suit approached him and warned him not to talk. This may have been one of the earliest Men in Black encounters. The story quickly spread, drawing the attention of 2 Air Force intelligence officers. They interviewed Dahl and took the evidence back with them, but tragically, their plane crashed shortly after takeoff, killing them both and destroying the samples. Many researchers over the years have debated whether Dahl's story was a hoax, a real UFO encounter, or possibly even a secret military test gone wrong. Dahl himself reportedly recanted the story, only to later say he was pressured to do so. The involvement of military officials and the strange crash of the plane added layers of suspicion and mystery. To this day, the Mory Island incident remains one of the lesser-known but deeply eerie cases in UFO history. It's a tale that blends mystery, tragedy, and early claims of government secrecy, all unfolding right before the Roswell story would shake the world. Number 12, Mantel Crash. On January 7, 1948, Kentucky Air National Guard pilot Captain Thomas Mantell was dispatched to intercept a mysterious object spotted near Godman Army Airfield in Fort Knox. Witnesses described a large metallic object hovering high in the sky. Mantell, flying a P-51 Mustang, climbed to over 20,000 feet in pursuit of what he believed was a UFO. Radio contact was eventually lost. Not long after, his plane crashed in a field outside Franklin, Kentucky. The official report blamed the crash on Mantell blacking out from lack of oxygen, but the mystery of what he saw in the sky has never been fully resolved. Some speculated that the object was the planet Venus, though this explanation was quickly dismissed by many experts. Others suggested a secret military balloon known as Skyhook, which was not publicly acknowledged at the time. The case became one of the first widely publicized UFO incidents in U.S. history, igniting public curiosity and fear. It marked a turning point, raising questions about national security and whether the military was prepared for aerial threats beyond their understanding. For many, what made the incident chilling wasn't just the crash, but how quickly it was explained away without solid answers. Reports of a bright object moving against the wind, seen by both military personnel and civilians, only deepened the sense of mystery. Was it an experimental craft, a misidentified celestial object, or something not of this earth? Even today, the Mantel Crash is viewed as a defining moment in American UFO history. It left behind more questions than answers, and the eerie thought that something unknown was hovering above Kentucky skies just beyond reach. Number 11. Highland Triangle. In the year 2000, a strange series of sightings began circulating in Highland, Illinois, a small town just east of St. Louis. Locals reported seeing bright lights moving in unnatural patterns across the night sky. These lights would often form triangular shapes, hovering silently before zipping away at high speeds. While some dismissed them as aircraft from nearby Scott Air Force Base, others believed something far more mysterious was unfolding. Residents dubbed the area the Highland Triangle, linking it to similar sightings across the American Midwest. One of the most notable reports came from a truck driver who claimed to have seen a massive triangular craft hovering low over a rural road. He described it as silent, with glowing white lights at each corner and a pulsating red light in the center. As he pulled over, the object hovered for several seconds, then vanished in an instant without a sound. Others in nearby towns like Lebanon and Millstadt saw similar formations on the same night, leading to coordinated reports and even sketches of the craft. Unlike other UFO sightings that faded over time, the Highland Triangle maintained local buzz for years. The consistent shape, behavior, and eerily quiet movement of the crafts set them apart from known aircraft. Some suggested experimental military vehicles, but no official confirmation was ever given. Today, the Highland Triangle remains one of Illinois' most puzzling modern UFO flaps. Though quieter now, residents still glance skyward on clear nights, wondering if the strange triangles might return. The mystery has never been solved, and that's exactly what keeps the legend alive. Number 10. Chiles Witted Encounter. On the night of July 24th, 1948, two experienced commercial pilots, Clarence Chiles and John Witted, were flying a DC-3 passenger plane over Alabama when they saw something they'd never forget. Around 2:45 a.m., at 5,000 feet near Montgomery, a glowing object appeared in front of their aircraft. It was cigar-shaped, as long as their plane, with rows of illuminated windows and flames shooting from its rear. The object sped by them with incredible speed before climbing into the clouds and vanishing from sight. Both pilots gave nearly identical descriptions. Chiles said the object looked like a rocket ship, while Witted noted its intense brightness and the heat he felt as it passed. One passenger also reported seeing a bright flash, though most of the others were asleep. Their accounts reached the Air Force and were included in Project Sign, an early government investigation into UFOs. The report treated the sighting seriously, noting the credibility of the witnesses. The Air Force later suggested the pilots may have seen a meteor, but the pilots firmly rejected that explanation. The shape, speed, and maneuverability didn't match any natural phenomenon they had ever seen. And unlike meteors, this object had windows, structure, and changed direction, something meteors simply don't do. The Chiles Whitted encounter became a key early case in UFO history, fueling national attention and speculation. It was one of the first reports by commercial pilots to be taken seriously by the military. Number 9. Chicago Red Lights. Between 2004 and 2005, residents in the Chicago suburbs, especially around Tinley Park, reported an eerie sight in the night sky. Multiple witnesses claimed to see glowing red orbs silently hovering above the city. These lights would often appear in triangular formations, then slowly drift apart or vanish all at once. One of the most widely reported sightings occurred on Halloween night, 2004, when dozens of families out trick-or-treating paused to stare at the sky in disbelief. The event was captured on several home video cameras, and the footage showed red lights moving in a way that didn't match planes, helicopters, or weather balloons. The objects made no noise and didn't behave like conventional aircraft. Local police received a wave of calls, and even amateur astronomers were puzzled. Some believed it could be military flares or drones, but no military activity was ever confirmed. The most mysterious part was how consistent the sightings were. Over the course of several months, different groups of people from various towns reported seeing the same strange lights. Many described a feeling of unease, as if the lights were silently watching from above. Despite investigations and media coverage, no explanation has ever fully accounted for what appeared over Chicago's skies. To this day, the Tinley Park lights remain one of the most credible and widely witnessed UFO incidents in recent history. The case stands out not just because of the visual evidence, but because of how many everyday people saw something they couldn't explain and never forgot. Number 8. Gorman Dog Fight. On the evening of October 1st, 1948, Air Force pilot George Gorman was flying a P-51 Mustang over Fargo, North Dakota, when he spotted a bright light moving fast in the dark sky. Curious and confident, Gorman radioed the tower and decided to investigate. What followed became one of the most extraordinary pilot UFO encounters in U.S. history, an airborne dogfight that defied all logic. According to Gorman, the glowing object was smaller than a plane, but maneuvered with impossible speed. He tried to chase it, diving and climbing through the sky, but the object always stayed ahead of him, turning sharply and accelerating faster than anything he'd ever seen. The encounter lasted nearly 30 minutes. Gorman described the object as a ball of light with no wings or sound, yet capable of outmaneuvering his advanced fighter jet. Back on the ground, air traffic controllers and radar operators confirmed that something unexplained had been in the sky. The Air Force launched an investigation, later suggesting it may have been a weather balloon, though Gorman strongly disagreed. He was certain he had engaged with a controlled craft, not a drifting balloon. The Gorman Dog Fight remains one of the most compelling pilot UFO stories ever recorded. It showed that even trained military personnel could be left baffled by what they saw in the skies. For many, Gorman's calm, detailed testimony gave the UFO mystery a new level of credibility that still resonates today. Number 7. Stevenville Lights. On a quiet January evening in 2008, dozens of residents in the small town of Stevenville, Texas, reported a stunning sight, a series of bright, silent lights streaking across the sky in formation. Some described large, glowing objects moving faster than jets, while others said the lights hovered in eerie silence before blinking out. The local newspaper was flooded with calls. Even a local pilot and a former police officer came forward to say they had seen something they couldn't explain. Within days, national media picked up the story, and Stevenville became the latest hotspot in America's long history of UFO sightings. The U.S. military initially denied any activity in the area, but later admitted that F-16s had been training nearby. This only added to the confusion. Many witnesses insisted the lights moved unlike any aircraft they had ever seen, and they were certain what they saw was far bigger than any jet. Radar records obtained through the Freedom of Information Act revealed that unidentified objects had indeed been detected in the area, moving in ways that defied explanation. Some of the paths even appeared to approach restricted airspace near President George W. Bush's Texas ranch, adding another layer of mystery. The Stevenville Lights remain one of the most credible mass sightings in recent years. What makes the story haunting is not just the strange lights, but how quickly the event unfolded, and how official answers only deepened the questions. In this small Texas town, the sky opened up to something no one was ready to see. Number 6. McMinnville UFO Photos. On May 11, 1950, Paul Trent was outside his farmhouse near McMinnville, Oregon, when he spotted a metallic object floating silently in the sky. He called his wife, Evelyn, and together they watched as the object hovered, then slowly moved away. Paul grabbed his camera and snapped 2 photographs before it vanished. What he captured would become 2 of the most famous UFO images ever taken. The photos show a classic saucer-shaped object, tilted slightly in the sky. Unlike many blurry or ambiguous UFO pictures, the Trent photos were clear and detailed. When they were published in the local paper, they caught the attention of national news outlets, and eventually the U.S. Air Force. Experts analyzed the negatives and found no signs of tampering. Even skeptical scientists admitted the photos were among the most puzzling ever seen. What made the story even more convincing was the Trents themselves. They were a humble, farming couple with no reason to fake such a sighting. In fact, they were reportedly reluctant to even talk about the event. Decades later, the original negatives were still being studied and still sparking debate. Today, the McMinnville UFO photos remain a cornerstone of American UFO history. They're often cited by researchers as one of the strongest pieces of visual evidence ever recorded. For many, the images are more than just photos. They're a quiet, powerful reminder that sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction. Number 5. Alagash Abduction. In August of 1976, 4 college friends, Jim Weiner, Jack Weiner, Chuck Rack, and Charlie Foltz, set out for a camping trip in the remote wilderness of Alagash, Maine. Surrounded by lakes and dense forest, they planned to fish and escape city life. On their second night, they noticed a strange, bright light hovering silently in the distance. At first, they thought it might be a weather balloon or a bright planet, but it soon vanished without a trace. The next night, while night fishing on Eagle Lake, the light returned. Only this time, it was much closer and intensely bright. One of them flashed a flashlight toward it in an SOS pattern. In response, the light moved rapidly across the sky and over the water, heading straight toward them. Suddenly, everything went blank. The next thing they knew, they were back at their campsite. Their fire, which had been roaring minutes earlier, was reduced to glowing embers, indicating hours had passed. None of the four could recall how they returned or what had happened during that missing time. Later, under hypnosis, each of them described the same chilling experience: being taken aboard a craft, examined by large-eyed humanoid beings, and feeling completely powerless. The consistency of their stories, shared years later with no material gain, stunned investigators and believers alike. To this day, the Alagash Abduction is considered one of the most credible and unnerving alien abduction cases in U.S. history. The Maine woods remain quiet, but for those four men, they will always echo with the memory of something impossible. Number 4. Washington, D.C. UFO Flap. In the summer of 1952, the skies over the nation's capital became the center of one of the most famous UFO incidents in American history. On the nights of July 19th and 20th, air traffic controllers at Washington National Airport began tracking several unknown objects on radar. These blips moved in strange patterns, zigzagging, stopping midair, and accelerating at incredible speeds that defied the capabilities of known aircraft. What made this case different was that multiple commercial and military pilots also reported seeing bright, glowing lights in the sky, sometimes in groups, performing impossible aerial maneuvers. The sightings continued over the next week, culminating in another wave on July 26th. Frustrated and alarmed, the U.S. Air Force scrambled fighter jets to intercept the objects. But each time the jets neared, the lights would vanish, only to reappear after the pilots left. News of the sightings hit the front page of major newspapers. Headlines like "Saucers Swarm Over Capitol" fueled national panic and intense speculation. The military held a press conference to calm fears, suggesting temperature inversions caused false radar readings. But that didn't explain the visual sightings by trained pilots or the synchronized radar returns from two separate towers. Even decades later, the 1952 DC UFO Flap remains unsolved. It led to increased government attention, sparked Project Blue Book's deeper investigations, and raised questions about how much authorities were willing to admit. In the heart of American power, something unexplainable had taken to the skies, and it refused to be ignored. Number 3. Marfa Ghost Lights. The tiny town of Marfa, Texas, may seem quiet, but for over a century, it has drawn visitors hoping to glimpse something truly bizarre: the mysterious Marfa Lights. First reported in 1883 by a cowboy named Robert Ellison, the lights appeared as glowing orbs hovering and dancing above the desert plains. Since then, hundreds of people, locals, tourists, and even scientists, have seen them too, always just out of reach and never quite the same. These lights often appear at night, flickering in blue, white, or reddish hues. Witnesses describe them floating just above the horizon, weaving through the darkness, splitting apart or joining together, then vanishing suddenly. What's most chilling is that they're regularly seen in areas with no buildings, no roads, and no clear source of light. Some residents have even claimed that the lights followed them, playful to some, unsettling to others. Scientists have attempted to solve the puzzle over the years. Some say the lights are distant car headlights or atmospheric reflections caused by temperature changes. Others argue that the phenomenon predates the invention of the automobile and can't be duplicated in controlled studies. Despite numerous theories, no explanation has ever fully satisfied both skeptics and believers. To this day, people gather at the official Marfa Lights viewing area off Highway 90, hoping for a glimpse of the mysterious glow. Whether a trick of nature or something stranger, the Marfa Lights continue to haunt the Texas desert, dancing through generations with no known source and no sign of stopping. It remains one of America's most persistent and beautiful mysteries. Number 2. Hill Abduction. On a quiet September night in 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving home through New Hampshire's White Mountains when they noticed a strange light following their car. It seemed to hover above the road, growing closer with each passing mile. As they stopped to observe it through binoculars, they saw a massive spinning disc with rows of windows and odd shapes moving inside. Feeling watched, they quickly got back in the car and sped away. Suddenly, a strange buzzing sound filled the vehicle, and the Hills lost consciousness. When they awoke, they had driven 35 miles down the road, but couldn't recall how. Their watches had stopped. Betty's dress was torn and stained with a pink powdery substance. Barney's shoes were scuffed, as if he had been dragged. Both felt uneasy and physically unwell, and they knew something was terribly wrong. Over the following weeks, the couple began having disturbing dreams. Under hypnosis, they each recounted being taken aboard a craft by strange beings with large eyes and grayish skin. Betty described being shown a star map. Barney spoke of a long medical exam. Their stories, though told separately, matched in startling detail. This was the first alien abduction story to gain national attention in the U.S. The Hill abduction changed how Americans thought about UFOs. It sparked countless books, documentaries, and studies. While skeptics questioned the memories, many researchers found the couple honest and sincere. Even today, the Hill story remains one of the most famous and deeply studied cases in UFO history, a tale of mystery, fear, and the unknown that still echoes through the White Mountains. Number 1. Trinity UFO. 2 years before Roswell, something strange happened near the Trinity nuclear test site in New Mexico. In August 1945, just weeks after the first atomic bomb was detonated nearby, 2 young boys, Jose Padilla and Remy Baca, claimed to witness something crash into the desert. According to their account, they heard a thunderous boom and saw a metallic, avocado-shaped craft lodged in a ravine with smoke rising from it. The boys reported seeing small, moving figures inside the wreckage, creatures with spindly arms and large heads. They were frightened but curious and returned with family members days later. The site was soon sealed off by military personnel, who reportedly removed the craft under the cover of night. For decades, the story remained largely forgotten, buried beneath the chaos of World War II and nuclear secrecy. In recent years, the story resurfaced when researchers claimed the government had quietly investigated the incident. Some believe the proximity to the atomic test site might explain the UFO's interest, or that the craft was monitoring humanity's entrance into the nuclear age. Documents and interviews added fuel to the theory, though no official acknowledgement has been made. Whether myth or memory, the Trinity UFO story is tied to one of the most pivotal moments in human history. It asks a haunting question. If we were being watched, did that moment when humans split the atom signal something that couldn't be ignored? Now please tell us which legend did you like the most. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please click the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.